Hey everybody, it's Cam from the Nerd Book Review. Today I will be reviewing Wistful Ascending by JCM Berne. It is 418 pages long. It is the first book in the Hybrid Helix series. You guys probably can see my background. Clearly, I'm not sitting in my tractor right now. I was trying this portable microphone I have instead of my one that I have to be plugged into the tractor. I decided I was going to give it a shot today, but then it is like 97 degrees according to my tractor right now. I'm picking up way too much noise in the tractor. Had to walk away from the tractor so I wasn't getting too much of the noise. It's funny, if you have watched the video that should have come out on Monday talking about the second Miss Percy book by Quimby Olson, you'll see me in a hoodie. I know everybody likes to say that their state has weird, crazy weather, but it was 64 degrees on Tuesday of this last week when I recorded this video, and it's on Friday that I'm recording this one, and it's 97 now. Looks like this coming Wednesday it'll be 101, and on Friday we're supposed to be like 74 again. So we're having, I guess typical early summer weather for Idaho. This video is being recorded towards the end of June. I once had a 4th of July weekend up in the mountains about 2 hours from here, usually about 10 degrees cooler, but it snowed on us on the 4th of July. So we definitely have some pretty variable weather. Also, I don't know if you can hear the hawk that seems to be circling me, screeching right now. Hopefully it isn't too obnoxious. All right, let's go ahead and get into the review. As long as this review isn't too awful sound and picture quality, we're going to use it. Sorry, Joe. The best way to talk about this book is superheroes in space. We are dealing with basically think of the Earth is now part of the what's called the Ildrak Empire. The purebred Ildrak males will go out and have sex with women of different races. Every once in a while, they will end up with a hybrid. In this case, our main character, Rohan, is a hybrid human and Ildrak. So basically, any of them that are born that are hybrids are going to have basically superpowers, right? The backstory is that before they had, were open about it, they were on Earth for a long period of time, and that's where costumed heroes came from. They didn't know they were hybrids for most of that time. Then for whatever reason, the Earth, was finally revealed. There are human hybrids. There's all kinds of other races. The best way to describe the setting of this book is Deep Space Nine style giant space station. Our main character Rohan had been part of this big long war for the Ildrak Empire, where he was basically like a one-man wrecking crew, with his superhero powers, wiped out whole civilizations basically. He got tired of doing that, wanted to retire off to his version of the farm, which is out on this space station called Wistful, where he basically literally acts as a tow operator second class. He's literally flying out to spaceships, towing them by hand into the space station. Most ships and the space station actually are sentient. They have an AI that has made them sentient beings. They have personalities, all kinds of stuff. The space station is tens of thousands of years old, very wise. Just seems to be a pretty calm space station as the most part. But it was certainly one of the things that I liked, I think, the most about the book was the sentient ships. That they have their own personalities. One thing I think that I was probably the perfect target audience, whether I'm just going to call him Joe. Whether the author intended me to be the perfect audience or not, I think I was the perfect audience. For those of you who grew up on the Sci-Fi channel, like I did, when it was good in the 90s, we had Deep Space Nine and Star Trek The Next Generation, things like that. I felt a lot of nostalgia while I was reading this book because of you went from everything from Marvel. I grew up watching X-Men, Star Trek, and then having those Sci-Fi channel ones. The Eureka show, where it had a sentient house AI, that became the voice in my head of what one of the sentient spaceships sounded like to me. But all in all, I found that this was a book that I really enjoyed, and it's one that I held off on reading for a little while. The book blurb is really long, really involved, and kind of makes it sound like it's going to be a little bit crazy and absurd. And I just kind of felt like maybe it was going to be all over the place too, because this talks about so much happening, and a lot does happen, but I feel like it happens in a good linear pattern in a way that I didn't feel overwhelmed at any point or anything like that. I feel like it's actually got a pretty nice tight storyline from start to finish. I really like the main character, Rohan, despite having incredible power. And one thing too, like their power is activated by anger, and the Ildrak Empire actually like teaches them techniques to get angrier as opposed to being calmer. And so, he has to work a lot on being calm and not getting too angry because of how powerful he is, obviously. But he's a big use, helpful for Wistful in order to, bring ships in and take them out in a way that they don't have to be powered and potentially cause damage to the space station. I think that all in all, this was definitely a book that I'm glad that I finally got to, especially after reading one of the first things that happens in the book that gets him out of his normal routine that he's kind of gotten into after a couple years on the space station is that there's a wormhole that hasn't been opened for like 10,000 years at this point, right? Some basically giant space bears come through it. And I think that when I was reading the blurb, I thought that it was going to get like really ridiculous. But even that, there's a little bit of, hilarity and a little bit of funniness, but it is a pretty serious thing still. And it doesn't sound like it's not as crazy as you think when you hear that there's going to be space bears in the book, right? The space bears are a pretty cool civilization, kind of reminding me a little bit of the Klingons, maybe. But just all in all, I just enjoyed all of the book. From start to finish, I read almost the entire book in one day during a long day on my tractor. And I will say, though, I did, so Mr. Berne gave me the audiobook. But I didn't particularly care for the audiobook. The narrator of the audiobook is, I just didn't feel like he had a strong enough voice to be voicing Rohan, who is the only point of view character. I just felt like he needed to have a deeper, more booming voice or something. I don't know why. It's just the way I felt. Like it was a very, kind of felt like he could be a folk singer type of voice. And so for some reason it just didn't work for me. So I do have Kindle Unlimited, and the book was on Kindle Unlimited. So I just switched over to that because I was enjoying the story. And so switched over, ended up reading like 360 of the 418 pages in one sitting. So obviously I, enjoyed it from start to finish. Now let's go ahead and, even though I am doing the whole crazy tractor, or in this case, literally out in BLM land, in the middle of nowhere, I will do the bad, the good, and my final thoughts still. As far as the bad, I understand why the author did this, but there is what felt to me like an escalating level of Rohan's power from the beginning. And it's also important to note that the entire story takes place in about 2 weeks total time. So, not taking months or years. So we're not talking progression fantasy where he's getting, more and more powerful as the story goes on. We're talking, from start to finish, where he gets into some scrapes that seem like they're almost overwhelming to him at the beginning, that, within 10 days he's getting into scrapes that are way crazier and, handling them in ways that kind of make you think that maybe he just clearly wasn't using much of his power beforehand. I get part of that he is, needs to try to stay calm and not go angry, berserker rage. But I felt like there was a couple times where things got a little out of hand in a way that, looking back on it, you think, well, he probably could have handled that easier even without getting angry, But that's going to be about it for me. Honestly, I think, I'll just go straight to the good. If you like the premise of the book in the first place, I think that's the whole big thing, right? Do you want superheroes in space? Do you want something that you're going to find a little bit humorous, that's going to be entertaining, action-packed? Then this is going to be a book for you. And I think that the writing was superb. I felt like it, from start to finish, kept me entertained. And I cared about the characters by the end of the book. And, I'm I would have gone straight to book 2 if I hadn't already been screwing around all week and read like 3 other books and not been doing my Spiffbo books that I'm supposed to be doing. I would have gone straight to book 2 for sure if that had been the case, if I didn't already need to get to other stuff. All in all, in the end, I'm going to give this book, I think, a 9.5. You might say, ooh, that's, why not a full 10 or why not a 9? Because I feel like it's probably just going to miss my book of the year list, but it's not going to miss it by a long shot. I really, really had a good time. I thought it was fun. I think if it had just a little bit more emotional resonance for most of the book for me, then it would probably be on, that book of the year list. But it's just going to miss it by a little bit. But it's close. I will say that. If we're talking last year where I had 8 total books that were on my book of the year list, this one would be a top 10 for last year for me. But this year I've already got like 15 books that are on my book of the year list. So sorry, Joe, you're getting knocked off just by the sheer fact that I've read so many darn good books this year that people have recommended to me. This one, if it was on my, book of the year list, would end up somewhere like, 15, 16 as opposed to top 10 kind of thing. And I think that we're just, that's getting a little too far. But it's close, and I certainly enjoyed it, and I absolutely recommend, giving this book a shot. I think that if the premise sounds cool to you, then you're really going to enjoy it, and I know I sure did. All right, we don't need to keep rambling. I will read book 2 here sometime not too long. I've got 6 or 7 more Spiffbo books that I plan to read, and then I should have a pretty long break before we, need to start getting into the finalist rounds, and so I'll get some more books read, and then this one, book 2 of the Hybrid Helix series, will certainly be on that list. Thanks.